Traditional modes of election analysis revolve around predicting who's going to win an election. This project attempts to determine whether it's possible to decide who should win an election. It's very similar to the phenomenon described in Thomas Frank's What's the Matter with Kansas. Essentially, this project is trying to quantify why Americans sometimes vote against their economic and political interests. To do this, I first determined the ideology of the winning candidate in either House or Senate elections. To do this, I used CF scores developed by Adam Bonica. That's short for campaign finance scores. They use ideal point estimates based off contribution data to determine a candidate's ideology on a real number line, meaning negatives and positives. I also determined ideology scores for different constituencies. Now, the goal of this project is to compare the different calculations of ideology scores. The first one takes a CCS poll from Harvard University that essentially takes the question where they are asked what their ideology is. It's a 7-point question from very liberal to very conservative, and it's equated to a -3 to +3 scale. I then average it out amongst the constituents within a different constituency, and that is the ideology score for that constituency. I then calculated ideology scores based off the policy and social questions in that very same poll. This essentially determines the ideology of a constituency based off of their views on different policies and social questions rather than what they think their ideology is. This is also done using the same average method as the self-reported ideology scores. This calculation also assumes that every single policy question is equal in the minds of voters. Now, the goal of this project is to determine whether or not that the calculated ideology scores perform better than the self-reported ideology score. Now, this is determined by looking at flipped seats in 2018. A seat is considered flip if the party of the winner in 2018 was different than the party of the winner in 2012. I used a differences in difference model to determine this. I created error groups within the different types of ideology score calculation. A district is considered error when the sign of the ideology score is different than the sign of the score for the winning candidate. I then take the proportion of the districts that had error that were flipped in 2018 and took the difference of that compared to the proportion of districts that flipped in 2018 that did not have error. I did that for the self-reported ideology score, then the calculated ideology score, and then took the difference between those. Since it ended up being a positive number, since I subtracted calculated ideology from self-reported ideology, the project was a success. We can see that it was clearly significantly greater than 0, with a t-stat greater than 4 and value a little bit over 0.24.